Hello and welcome to the Lost Pines Workshop. I'm JC Jensen. Today we're here to talk about routers. So whether you're a beginning woodworker or a DIY enthusiast that likes to do your own thing, a router is something you may want to consider adding to your toolkit. So what is a router? Well, this is a router. This is one of three we're going to look at this morning. I think I have five. Yeah, I got five of these guys, and they're set up for different operations. So a router is nothing more than a motor that is attached to this shaft, and we can insert various bits or cutter heads into that rotate at different speeds. This router is a fixed speed, runs at 28,000 RPM. And then others are variable speed, which range from roughly 17,000 to 28. We'll get into the various speeds and whatnot later. But a router can be, it's an extremely versatile tool, right? It allows us to cut, we can cut straight lines with it. We can do a lot of our joinery with it, as I've discussed in previous videos. Such as we can do rabbets, we can do dados. If we want to cut a half lap joint, we could do that. We can cut dovetail joints and various other. It will help you cut various joints, as well as we can cut straight lines, straight profiles. We can cut circles. Very, very versatile tool. It's all about the bit or the cutter that you install in the router itself, and various jigs that we use to accomplish whatever pattern or joint that we are trying to create. So in this one, so as I said, this is one, and the cutting profile bit that I have in here right now is simply a straight bit, right? So it will cut a straight edge, no profile, no curves, no anything. It's just a straight cut. And in the end here, this is a 1/2 inch bit with a 5/8 inch bushing in it. With this, I can adjust the depth, how deep it's going to cut, simply by rotating the base. Right? All right, so I rotate it around in the unlocked position. I can vary the depth of cut. Once I've measured and selected that, I simply lock it and it's set. This is a round base plate that's used. So this router I would be using by hand. It's obviously an old one, broke the handle off. And I would follow a template or follow a profile. When I mean template, I mean something like this. So I want to cut a circle. Well, I can use this as my template, and the guide bushing. Well, I can simply move the router around on the bushing and it will cut this circle. Or I could use this template, which I did for a customer I made some Lazy Susans for. Same thing. I had the template. I can simply place the router into the template on that guide bushing and cut out a perfect circle. Cool, right? Well, what if I want to cut a straight line? Well, we have an attachment, looks like this, that mounts to the router. We'll slide in and lock in, and we can vary the distance from the cutter head. And with that, we can follow a template or a guide to cut a straight line. Woohoo! Really cool, right? Okay, so this is one. This is a full size router. full-size handheld router. This is what we call a palm router, right? It's about half the size. It's a little brother. Does exactly the same thing. This one is variable speed. Again, 17 to approximately 28,000. Has all of the same function. Same adjustment. This one dials in a little bit. It's easier to dial in smaller increments. Again, it's variable speed. Base plate, different base plates. You can get different ones. This one has a straight for following a profile. Kim uses this one a lot. Also with that, we have an attachment where this is called a plunge base. So the router would sit inside of here, and this allows us to plunge the router down into whatever it is that we want to cut. We can plunge it. We can also lock it, leave it fixed at a specific height, rather than doing this dial method I was showing you on this guy. Behind me here, can you see that? Yeah, right here. This guy. So this is a router table. On this, the router is mounted underneath where the bit is sticking up through the top, with a fence on the back that is fully adjustable, front to back, diagonally, whatever is necessary. The difference being between this and this, when I'm using the handheld router, my workpiece is fixed and I'm driving the router by hand. On this one, the router is fixed and I feed my material through the router or across the table. What I like about this, or this particular one, is the deck that I have this mounted to. I can move this router head up and down quickly using this handy wrench inserted in here, and I can plunge it up and down. Primarily use this if I'm going to change the cutter head. But as I get close, I've got a dial here on the top that allows for micro adjustments in thousandths of an inch. It's pretty nice. Really good for some really accurate work. So what about our cutter profiles? What can we cut with it? Well, as I said, I've got a straight bit in here for cutting straight lines or perfect circles, whatever. Here's one profile bit for cutting a rather large cove. Notice also this one has a bearing on the bottom end of it, right? So that I can follow a profile or a guide. This is a get out of there. This is called a roundover bit, right? Would be used like this, or if it's on the router table, it'll be like this. It cuts this half of a cove. Round over. So if I want to round over the edge of a board, I can run it across this profile and it will round it to this size. This one's a half an inch. Then here's another. This is called, I was talking about doing rabbets. Well, I could do a rabbet with a straight bit, or I can use a bit specifically designed. This is a half inch rabbeting bit. I would use this one on my router table. How about a tongue and groove, right? Where I'm going to create a tongue, straight piece, to go into a slot, right? That will be these two guys. Excuse me. Where this is going to cut the slot, and this is going to cut the tongue. Or, excuse me, I said that backwards. This guy will cut the slot, and this guy will cut the tongue. Notice there's a bearing in between the two and a bearing on this one. That's to follow a guide so that our depth is consistent throughout our cut. Tongue and groove. If I want to cut dovetails, one method for cutting dovetails is to use a jig, right? So this is a jig that I have. I can cut our dovetail joints with it, where I use the freehand or the handheld router with a guide bushing in it, and the bushing rides in this track, cutting our dovetails. Can also cut box joints with this. Same setup, just different bit. I'll set that back there. So it's quite a versatile tool. I use it obviously quite often. It can be scary because for a long time, a lot of folks are scared of table saw, right? Blade sticking up here and running around, cutting. Well, the table saw for me has always been this is my go-to machine. This is my favorite tool. These guys have always scared me, but apparently I've gotten over that to some extent because I've got 5 of them. And primarily it scares me because as you get larger and larger bits and it's spinning out here, it's handheld, right? It's kind of scary to me. It's not fixed. It's a dangerous tool. But read the directions that come with it. Think safety. When you cut your piece, beep, you turn it off, leave it in until it stops before you take it out, right? Where a lot of injuries happen with routers is people taking these out, it's still cutting, and they do silly things with it while it's outside of the work area and that bit's still turning. Be mindful of that. Turn it off, let it stop, then remove it and set it down. Okay? Anytime you're changing the bit, unplug it. All right? This just has a push button switch on it. They're all this way. Right? Very easy to hit that switch accidentally while you're changing bits or reconfiguring your material, whatever. Unplug it. We don't need any boo-boos. What else? That about covers it. That's just a quick overview of what a router is, what it can do for you. There are folks out there that maybe you don't have room for a table saw. Between a skill saw and a router, you can accomplish some of the same things that you can with a table saw. It takes up a lot less space. The palm router with the plunge base and bits all fits in this little case. Put it away. Easy peasy. Still, table saw is my favorite. I'll never say otherwise. But this is a good alternative, and the diversity of what you can cut with it, all the profiles. You got your molding in your house, right? The base molding, your crown molding, furniture molding, all can be done with a router. It's just you change the bit, change your setup, set up your jig, and it's phenomenal. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. Highly encourage you to investigate. If you have any questions about how to use it to cut a specific profile, leave me a comment. I'd be happy to answer that, perhaps do another video for you. But this is a good introduction for you. Again, very versatile. Highly recommend you have one in your shop. That's all for today. Thanks for joining me. We'll see where we're heading up next. We'll see you down the road.